so big. And then it just called me Molly. Why does it say Mu-Yin there? Well, we'll find out tonight in my story. So, I grew up in Taiwan, this tiny little island southeast of China. Taiwan has nothing to do with Thailand. Taiwan is not part of China. 3 things you want to know about Taiwan. We're a democratic country, we have universal health care, and we are the world's largest smartphone chip producer. So next time you're scrolling on your phone, remember, you're holding a piece of Taiwan in your hand. My parents, both teachers. And I have 2 brothers, 1 big brother and 1 little brother. Do we have any middle child here? Let me see. Yeah, you know what that's like, right? I lost my mother's love the day she brought this creepy little creature home from the hospital. And I still had to listen to my big brother, who was essentially a big bully. So life was hard from the beginning. Being the middle child was my first taste of injustice in this world. As a child, I was very artistic, affectionate, very shy, and I would often have anger outbursts and meltdowns. People said I was hypersensitive. I didn't know what they were talking about, but I didn't like it when people said I was cute, because in my mind, I was like, I am not cute! I am serious! I know what you're thinking, but you are cute, and I know I pretty much have cute written on my forehead, and today I own it. But when I was a kid, I didn't like it. I thought people were teasing me. When I was 8 years old, I first learned this concept called death. And I was so scared of losing my parents. One night, my mom didn't feel well. My dad took her to the clinic. By the time I expected them to be home, they weren't home yet. So I started to panic. I asked my brothers, where did Mom and Dad, do you think they got into a car accident and died? My brothers rolled their eyes at me. Stop being a creep. You're just late. You'll be back soon. And they just ignored me. I was devastated, you know? We're now practically orphans. Who's gonna cook my dinner tomorrow? Which relatives will we be living with from now on? Why can't they see it? 2 hours later, parents came home, and they had to pick me up from the neighbor's apartment downstairs. The neighbor took pity of me and let me wait there until my parents came home. My dad was so embarrassed. He scolded me instead of consoling me. Incidents like this were not uncommon during my childhood. I had no problem embarrassing myself and my parents when I was distraught. And this was back in the 80s. There was no such thing called child psychologists in Taiwan. My parents didn't know what to do with this strange daughter, so they mostly just tried to ignore or suppress my extreme emotions. I was often mildly unhappy as a child, but I never told anyone, because I thought everybody was just like me. I thought unhappiness was the natural state of life. And I thought negative emotions were meant to be suppressed. But this mild, very manageable unhappiness gradually got worse and worse. And by the time I turned 16, I became severely depressed. When I tell people I was depressed, the first thing they ask me is always, why we're depressed. I know what they want to hear from me is exactly what happened to you to cause you to be depressed. But I believe I was already predisposed to depression because of my personality. 50% of mental disorders show their first signs before age 14, and I was one of them. Remember that night when my mom was home late? My brothers didn't find anything strange about it, and they both grew up perfectly normal. I was the only one crying like it was the end of the world. I was always very negative, very sensitive. And even though I excelled at school, somehow I never had much confidence. Therefore, when various stressful events happened during my teens, they naturally became triggers for my depression. Now, high school was really stressful for me because I was trying to figure out who I was while navigating the world at the same time. I couldn't fit in at school. I was under extreme pressure to get into a good college. I couldn't get enough attention from my dad, and I couldn't get my mom to leave me alone. Also, let's face it, puberty is trauma. I hated it. But remember the raging hormones, the confusion, the embarrassment, the awkwardness, the overwhelming emotions. Changing. I was not ready to become an adult. But I couldn't stay a child anymore. I developed severe eczema on my face, which was not only extremely painful and really affected my self-esteem. I didn't know if I was gay or straight. And for goodness sake, why was I always in love with 5 different people at the same time? That was trauma. Love hurt. Life hurt. Was that not enough reason for my depression? What more did I need to justify my depression? And there was another trigger for my depression. We'll come back to that later. But for now, let's talk about what happened after I became depressed. So I struggled through high school. I lost a lot of weight, and I was self-harming. But I always asked for help when I needed it. And this is extremely important if you suffer from depression. Please reach out for help. If you don't, people often don't know you're depressed. And they don't know because you hide it. And you hide it so well and you're so proud of it. Please don't do that. Please ask for help. I always had great friends, and I talked to the school counselors regularly and frequently. Because of their emotional support, I managed to get into college and left home. My condition got a little better when I first went to college because of the new environment and lifestyle. But it didn't take long before my symptoms got worse. Much worse, actually. Because basically I never faced the root cause of my depression. So my symptoms just came and went until I started skipping classes and staying in bed all day long. That was probably the best part about learning by yourself. You could just stay in bed for as long as you want and nobody would come and drag you to classes. At the beginning of one semester, a professor told the class that she would let everybody pass as long as we showed up for the exam. Now, on the day of the exam, guess what happened? You already know what happened, don't you? Of course I didn't show up. I couldn't. I was lying in bed, paralyzed by my thoughts. I couldn't move, let alone go to the exam. So I failed by default. I knew all I needed to do was to get out of bed, put on some clothes, take the bus to campus, walk to the classroom, sit down, and take the exam. And I would pass. Simple as that. And I couldn't do it. That was when I knew I needed to take a gap year and start seeing a psychiatrist. But I was a sneaky patient. I saved most of my pills instead of taking them. Looking back, I don't know why I was not hospitalized. My impulse control was really poor at that time. So my friends would come and stay with me every night to make sure I was okay. But they couldn't watch me 24/7. They had to go to classes during the day. And one day, when I was by myself, I decided it was time for me to leave this world. I sit on the edge of my bed, and I dumped all the pills I have saved next to me. I'm so tired of being depressed. I feel like a burden to my parents. I think they're better off without me. In my imagination, I believe they would be really sad at first, but after a while, they would just forget about me and move on with their lives. Besides, they have 2 other sons, right? What was losing one daughter. That age, I didn't know. Parents never recover from a child's suicide. I had no intention of hurting my parents, but the only thing I could think of at the time was the pain I was feeling. I counted over 300 sleeping pills, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, and antipsychotics. And I was trying really hard to think of a reason not to do it. And that was when I thought of my little brother. My little brother, aka the creepy little creature who turned me into a miserable middle child when I was 2.5 years old. This time he was in high school, and we had not talked much since I left home for college, but I still remember growing up with him. He was the complete opposite of me. He was a cheerful, happy kid. He was an extrovert and loved to hang out with people. He really, really enjoyed life. He loved to eat, loved to spend money, loved to have fun. It was always a party with him. And he was such a sweet kid to my parents. I always thought he made my parents happy, while I brought them much sorrow. And when I was going through a tough time, when I felt the world had wronged me and I couldn't do anything right, my little brother, Sky, he never judged me. He never expected anything from me. He never made me feel there was anything wrong with me. He never made me feel I had to change myself to be better.
And I remember when we were kids, he was really afraid of dogs. So I had to protect him from the dogs in the neighborhood, even though I was terrified of dogs myself. Terrified. But I was the big sister. I gotta do the brave thing. So that's what I did. I protected my baby brother from the dogs in the neighborhood like a brave big sister. And on that day, when I was trying really hard to think of a reason to stay alive, I realized my decision would affect not only myself, but his life as well. I thought, what would happen to him if he woke up tomorrow and found out he no longer had a big sister? Would he stay pure and positive? Or would he struggle for years to find his way back to happiness? And the more I thought about it, I realized I couldn't do it. I may not have a reason to live for myself, but on that day I knew I could live for him, and I would. So that day, my little brother saved my life without doing anything. And he didn't even know that. Don't underestimate your importance in this world. You may not realize, but you could save someone's life just by being yourself. You could save someone's life just by loving them, just by not judging them, just by allowing them to be themselves. And if you suffer from depression and can't think of a reason to stay alive for yourself, please do the brave thing for those who love you. I know it's a lot to ask, but I need you to do it. And you will know why when we get to the end of my story. Now that was a little heavy, right? I thought I promised you would have some fun. So now let's have some fun. I wrote this song called Innocence. And I'd like to invite you to think of your loved ones when you are listening to this song. I promise the worst is over. Now we are actually officially going to have some fun. So, the day I decided to stay alive. Sorry, I just said the worst is over, but okay, just a little bit longer. The day I decided to stay alive, I buried that sad little girl in the corner of my heart. That sad little girl, Mu-Yin. I promised her I would do whatever it takes to live a good life for her. And I promised that I would tell her story one day so people can learn from her. She was so tired, so I put her to rest. I allowed my old identity to die. So there was room for a new identity to emerge. I decided Molly will be my new identity. Molly has the courage to be happy. So I thought about it long and hard. I asked myself, if there's absolutely no limit, if I could have any kind of life I want, what would make me truly happy? What lights me up? What makes me really want to get up in the morning? And I thought, I want to go to music school. Now, this may not seem like a big decision. So, let me give you more about my music background. I started playing the piano when I was very little, but I was always just an amateur pianist. I didn't play very well. I took lessons from my neighbor, who was not a very good teacher, but I didn't realize it at the time. All I knew was when I hit the technical ceiling, my teacher couldn't help me with it. I wanted to go to music school so badly that I thought perhaps I was just not talented enough. Perhaps it was just not meant to be. And this made me so frustrated that I decided to give up music completely when I was 16 years old. So I just stopped playing the piano for 4 years until I finally found a new teacher during my gap year. My new teacher, Miss Ye, was great at teaching techniques, and I improved rapidly. I felt like a rising star with unlimited potential, and my desire to go to music school was reignited. But there was just one problem. I was now halfway through my degree at college, so I had to summon all of my courage to tell my parents I've decided to give up my degree to go to music school. My parents were shocked, of course, and my dad tried to talk me out of it. He said, "Why don't you get your degree in Japanese first and then go to music school? That way you will have 2 degrees and more options in the future." I was majoring in Japanese at the time simply because it was a practical choice. Up until then, I had been following the traditional Asian path of being a good daughter, getting into a good college, so that I could eventually get a good job and live happily ever after. But that was the path I tried so hard to follow and failed. That was the path that made me question if my parents loved me only because I followed their expectations, only because I excelled at school. So, when I heard my dad's response to my big decision, I was pissed off because he clearly couldn't see how hard I had been trying. I felt the urge to blow up, and this is what I really wanted to tell them. I wanted to tell my parents, "I cannot wait any longer. I hate my life. I see no hope in my future. Music is the only thing that makes me feel happy. From where I stand, I only see 3 options. Option number 1, I kill myself so you don't have to worry about this rebellious daughter anymore. Option number 2, I go live in a temple and become a Buddhist nun so I don't have to worry about the stupid responsibilities in life anymore. And option number 3, I go to music school. I believe both of you would prefer option number 3. That was what I wanted to tell them, not what I actually told them. Because I was a good Asian daughter after all, you know? And I needed them to pay for my tuition. And that's not the right way to approach your sponsors. So, what does a good Asian daughter do? You fight logic with logic. I kept my composure and said, Dad, why do I want to waste 2 more years on a degree that I know I will not use in the future? You see how those Chinese people train their child prodigies from 2 years old? I'm already old as dirt. I gotta go now. My parents knew they couldn't convince me. So they agreed to pay for it if I got accepted. After talking to my parents, I went to my therapist and I told him I decided to stop seeing him because I felt piano lessons worked better for me than therapy. Now, my therapist, of course, didn't agree with me, but he respected my decision. The last thing he said to me was, you do not have to continue therapy with me, but you will need to stay in therapy for the rest of your life because you will never be normal without therapy. What a blessing, right? So after talking to the therapist, I went to my piano teacher, Miss Ye. I told her I've decided to go to music school. She said, okay, just very casually. And we started working on my program, audition program, together. I didn't have anybody to write recommendation letters for me, so I went to this jazz music professor at my university who barely knew me from a class I took with him. He asked me to play a little piano for him. I was so nervous, I played really, really badly. And after I played, he said, have you ever played a full recital from memory? I said, no. He said, do you realize you have to memorize over 50 pages of music within 3 months' time to do auditions? You're not ready. When I heard that, my heart just dropped. So what did I do? I went, I know I'm not ready right now, but I will be ready when it's time to do auditions. That, my friend, was how I got my recommendation letter. It was not a great letter, but I got a letter. So after talking to the professor, I cried for 1 entire week and immediately threw myself back into practice, sometimes as much as 8 hours a day. That sounds tedious and boring, right? It was sometimes. But no amount of hard work is harder than feeling depressed and staying in bed all day long. Very often when I was practicing the piano, I actually felt happy and hopeful because I knew I was working toward my dream. For the first time in many years, I started to look forward to the future. 3 months later, I have memorized my entire program, and I arrived at an audition. Now imagine you are the audition panel, and here comes 20-year-old Molly Chen. play for my audition. That was the real piece. And then after I played, the auditioners asked me to play a very simple D major scale. And this was what I did. But basically, I couldn't play. And the audition panel were like baffled. They said, you just played the same D major scale in your Beethoven sonata perfectly 5 minutes ago. Why can't you play it by yourself now? I said, well, I've been an amateur pianist until recently, and I was not trained like normal piano students to practice scales every day. And in my mind, I was thinking, you have ruined it! You're done! You're never getting into music school, you stupid little girl, you stupid amateur! What were you even thinking? And to my surprise, the auditioners were impressed by my answer. And in the end, not only did they accept my application, and they even gave me a scholarship. I was over the moon. My dream is coming true. I called Miss Yin and told her the good news. And you know what she told me? She congratulated me first and then said, when you first told me you wanted to go to music school, I thought it's impossible for you to get in. But you looked so determined and you were so depressed, I didn't know what to tell you. So I thought I might as well just let you try it and find out yourself. Can you imagine, the whole time I thought my teacher believed in me. She actually didn't. So the only person in the whole wide world who believed in me was myself. And I believed in myself because I thought my teacher believed in me. It was a huge misunderstanding. So I went to music school, and just like I thought, over the years, music healed me little by little, and I never needed therapy again. Now, disclaimer, I'm not saying everybody should quit therapy and go to music school, but that was indeed how powerful music was for me. In fact, I now understand part of the reason I became depressed was because I kept trying to convince myself that I didn't need music. I didn't realize at the time that music had been an important emotional outlet for me since I was a child. When I stopped playing the piano at 16, I essentially became a pressure cooker with all my emotions bottled up. So I just sank into depression. I wanted to go to music school, but I kept telling myself, what's the point? This is stupid. You're not good enough. You'll never get in. And eventually, this made me feel like a failure. And I just lost hope for the future. I didn't realize at the time, but the act of suppressing my own dream was what killed my life force, little by little. That's why Brené Brown said, unexpressed creativity is not benign. It metastasizes. So I was in music school for a total of 6 years. It was the very, very scary decision, but the best decision of my life. I first went to England for my bachelor's degree, and then I came to the States for my master's degree. Shortly after I came to the States, people started to tell me that I was funny. Now, we Asians don't do funny, okay? Seriously, we are smart and practical people. So when people told me that I was funny, I was like, I am not funny. I am serious. I am not a firecracker. I am a gentle soul. magical place called Michael's. Do you guys shop at Michael's? Yeah, Hobby Lobby, Joanne, they're all good. Other than music, I have been an avid crafter my whole life. But the craft stores in Taiwan are very small. So when I first went to Michael's, I was in heaven. I tried out at least 10 different crafts and then became obsessed with making jewelry. But jewelry supplies are very expensive. So I decided I would sell some of my jewelry so I could buy more supplies and make more jewelry. Now keep in mind, I was still an international student at this time. I was new to this country. My English was not very good. I had no connection. I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know where I could sell my jewelry. All I had was determination and enthusiasm. But my experience of getting into music school taught me that enthusiasm and determination can take one quite far. So I thought perhaps I had a chance. I started with what I knew. I was already an eBay shopper at this time, so I thought I would start with eBay. But I didn't know how to do it. So I would stay up until 3 a.m. reading or doing research online. I had no idea what I was doing, but I tried. So I put the first 2 pairs of my earrings on auction, starting at 99 cents each. And for the next few days, I just kept refreshing that screen because that's what you do when you're a new eBay seller. You just can't wait for that magic number to change from 0 to 1. And I remember when that moment actually happened. Somebody placed a bid on both pairs of my earrings. I was like, holy cow, I cannot believe somebody likes my jewelry enough to pay real money for it. 99 cents times 2. I am rich. 99 cents times 2. You cannot even buy a cup of latte. We immigrants get satisfied so easily. If I were to sell the same pairs of earrings today, they would be priced at least $20 each. So that customer probably knew she got a great deal. That's why she bought 2 pairs. But I knew nothing back then. And I had no self-esteem. I was just so thrilled to make my first sale. The validation I got from that first sale got me so pumped up. I continued to sell more on eBay. A year later, I learned about this website called Etsy and started selling there. I heard some of you smiling, laughing. How many of you know about Etsy? Oh, there's a lot of you do today. But if you don't, Etsy is an online platform selling everything handmade. It's like a 24/7 craft fair, basically. Back when I first started in 2007, Etsy was still very new and not very well known. But I quickly grew a following. And within a year, I was able to quit my day job and start selling jewelry full time. My business continued to grow. And growing up, I thought I was going to become a starving artist, but now I actually have money. I bought a house, a new car, a Steinway grand piano. I got featured in magazines, on websites, and people said I was successful. I was now living my dream life for the second time in my life. But I noticed something strange. Even though business was doing well and people seemed to love my jewelry, I don't see the beauty in the jewelry I made. And I didn't understand why people pay so much money for it. Clearly, I wasn't selling them at $99 cents anymore now. So one day I went to this gift shop where I consigned my jewelry with. I saw a random pair of earrings in their display case, and I thought, this is so pretty. And it took me 2 seconds to realize I was the one who made those earrings. And immediately they don't look pretty anymore. They just look like crap to me. And it hit me. That was how I felt about my music as well. When I was just an amateur pianist, I was never shy about performing. I may not play very well, but I loved to share my music with people. But after getting a master's degree from one of the best music schools in the world, I'm now a real pro and could hear all the flaws and imperfections in my music. I was so worried that people would hear them as well, so just stop playing, stop performing completely. I kept telling myself, my music is not good enough yet. I cannot present it to the world until it's absolutely perfect. Every time people ask me to perform, I would say, no, I can't play, I need to practice more. And people would say, oh, come on, just play something easy. We won't be able to tell when you make mistakes. Just play something easy, something like, chopsticks. And I would be like, no, I can't play chopsticks. We didn't learn that in music school. Isn't that ironic? Isn't the purpose of going to music school to learn to make better music so you can share it with people? But the last thing didn't happen. I now make better music, and I don't share it with people. So this kind of insecurity went on for years, until one day I was hanging out with my little nephew. My nephew was 2 years old at this time. And you know how little kids are? They turn anything into toys. They talk to themselves. They make up stories. On this day, my nephew found a bottle which he decided would make a great microphone. I was lying in bed. He's standing on the bed in front of me. He holds this bottle in his hand and starts to sing. And you can tell he's singing for an audience because he's looking me right in the eye like he just knows he's such a rock star. So the auntie has to listen to him very attentively. And I have no idea why he's singing. But as I listen to him sing, I just start to tear up. Because his voice is so beautiful. It's like listening to a little angel. And I got perfect pitch, okay? I know he's completely out of tune. And there's no lyrics, it's just all gibberish because he can't even speak yet. But it's so beautiful, I just love it. And I know the reason I love it is because I love him. In my mind, he is perfectly imperfect. I don't need this child to have a college degree to see his beauty. I don't need him to be smarter, better, prettier, healthier to love him. I see his magnificence just the way he is. He is enough. Then it dawned on me. Am I also enough? Just like my little nephew? Do I carry the same perfection and magnificence in me? Just like my little nephew? Could it be true that in my family and friends' eyes, I am also enough, and all they want for me is to be happy? I never felt good enough about myself. Every time I reached a goal, I immediately set another goal so I could be better. I kept telling myself, make better music, make better jewelry, make more money, meditate more, just do better, do more, be more. I could never be satisfied with my achievement. And you know what people say about that enjoy the journey thing? I mean, seriously? Who enjoys the journey? I want to go right to my destination, to where I am perfect. No journey. Let's go right to the destination. That's what I want. And that was actually the ultimate reason for my depression. Because I was never in the present. I was never happy about who I was. I did not become depressed because of trauma. I became depressed because I never loved myself. Do you realize you are also enough? You don't need to be smarter, better, prettier, healthier to be worthy of love. You are perfectly imperfect, just the way you are. And if anyone tries to convince you otherwise, forgive them. Have compassion for them, because they don't love themselves. Now, would you guys like to hear some perfectly imperfect music? I wrote this song called Daisy by the Lake. Daisies are my favorite flowers, and lakes are my favorite places, so this is the song about my life. For those of you who are wondering, yes, this nephew is my little brother's son. My little brother is now a minister, and he has 4 children. I'm very close to them. In fact, I started teaching them piano during the pandemic on Zoom. So life has now come full circle. And as you can see, I am very happy to be alive. I hope my story showed you that you are not broken or defective if you suffer from depression. Your depression is an extremely strong life force that's turned in the wrong direction. If you want to turn depression into your superpower, you need to learn to follow these 3 principles I'm about to share. And even if you don't suffer from depression, these 3 principles will also help you get through tough times in life. And we all know nobody gets through life without tough times. So the first principle, love yourself. This is actually the last principle I learned in my life. But I want you to start with this one. Because when you truly love yourself, you can weather any storm in life. And your presence alone will light up this world. I grew up surrounded by love, but I never learned to love myself. I always thought love had to come from other people. Sometimes the love I received was not enough. And sometimes it was not exactly what I needed. It took me many years to realize I am a love generator. I can love myself, and I should, because I am the only person in this world who will live with me until my last breath. No matter how much people try to love you, nobody can understand you 100%, be there for you at all times, and love you exactly how you want to be loved. So you better learn to love yourself. Now you want to know, how do you love yourself? First of all, ask yourself, whose love are you missing in your life right now? Is it your father? Your mother? A best friend? Or a romantic partner? Secondly, ask yourself, in an ideal world, if you can have any kind of love you want, how would you like to be loved by this person? Then love yourself that way. Be your dream parent. Be your dream best friend. Be your dream soulmate. The second principle, follow your heart. Deep down, we all know what our heart truly desires. Just like a seed has the natural instinct to grow and become what it is meant to be. But so often we try to ignore or suppress that desire because we think it's stupid, it's practical, or people will laugh at us. So we talk ourselves out of it. Perhaps you are a seed of a flower, but you keep telling yourself, nah, flowers are useless. I will become an apple tree and make lots of money selling apple cider. And now you're laughing. I'm not joking. I have asked myself so many times, why can't I just be a productive fruit tree? Why can't I just be normal? But I can't. I'm a crazy artist. I'm a delicate flower. And it is okay. It is okay to be yourself. It is okay to follow your heart. Your mind will give you all kinds of reasons why you shouldn't do it. But remember, the heart is where your life force lives, not your head. So if you hear that tiny little voice, that yearning in you, late at night, when you're all by yourself, listen to it. take it seriously. Ask yourself, what can you do to fulfill your destiny? Even if it seems impossible for you right now, doesn't mean it will always be impossible. Just like a plant that becomes dormant in winter. Your one job is to not give up on your soul's desire. You hold on to that dream tightly. You nurture yourself. You follow that dream one step at a time, and it will blossom when spring comes. The third principle, accept life the way it is. Now, this is the hardest of all three principles because we humans have egos and we want life to go certain ways. But that's not how life works. And if you ask for the impossible, you will only make yourself miserable. So accept that people you love may not love you back. People may not understand you, or they may judge you. Accept that hardships happen in life. Accept that you have emotions, you have flaws, you make mistakes. You are human after all. Accept that it takes time to heal trauma, learn new skills, and accomplish your dreams. So be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. Only when you accept what cannot be changed will you be able to change what can and needs to be changed. Now, before we finish, I want you to know that you are in this world to love and learn and experience everything life has to offer. When life gets hard, don't pray for an easier life. Pray that you get stronger. Because you are not here to live an easy life. You are here to live a meaningful life. Be brave, keep going, and laugh a little if you can. Thank you.
So we're going to take a 30-minute break. Wait, Aaron. We're going to have some imperfect, using her terms, beer from Doghouse Brewery. And there's Severa wine. Gary's not here. I can't give him a hard time for his imperfect wine. But enjoy yourselves for 30 minutes. Come back and we'll have Eat Moody.